You live from above the Heineken River deck at Pier 17.
It's been a long road.
I was letting the team down at a point where I wasn't able to play. I never wanted to just be about me.
I paid a heavy cost. Where do we go from here? I know I have not reached the end.
When I say I'm here with Kev, I think that it really entails us managing this franchise together.
Kyrie Irving's teammate Kevin Durant offered his thoughts on Kyrie's situation. There's no involvement at all. I can't be involved with a man's livelihood. This is much bigger than me. Being a free agent is one of the most important times in your career. That can't be swayed by anyone else. Nothing can happen right now. I don't think he can make a decision on opting out until the 29th, so I'll just let things play out and see what happens. We're back with the Tims, no relation. Legler and Bontemps. Legs. Time is running out for the Nets. What will things look like for Kyrie and the Nets 5 days from now?
My gut says he'll be a Brooklyn Net, and he'll be getting ready to try to rectify some of the things that have happened over the last couple of years there in Brooklyn. I don't know exactly what the terms end up being. I don't know if he just gets that max deal because Kevin Durant, even though he says he doesn't want to have any input in it whatsoever, everybody knows what Kevin Durant wants. And what are the Nets left with if they allow this to get out of hand and spiral out of control? And now you just have Kevin Durant when you had three superstars come there in the first place. So I think ultimately they'll get it done. I don't know exactly, because it hasn't really been reported, how far apart they are on years and the final number of guaranteed money. But I think ultimately they will get this done. I think this is a little bit of a leverage tactic on the part of Kyrie Irving.
Bontemps, if Kyrie were to opt out, what does that mean for KD? According to Woj, teams are hoping for that because they think he can become untethered to the Nets.
Well, I think the thing in that lead into the segment when Kyrie said that, this is about me and Kevin managing this franchise. I think from the moment those two guys got to Brooklyn, that's been really the way they have thought about this entire situation. It's that the two of them came to Brooklyn and they're in charge of everything that's going on. And frankly, the Nets gave away their control of the situation last December when they let Kyrie come back and play after having him say, I'm saying we're going to keep you at home because we're either going to have you fully committed and being a guy who's going to be on the court all the time, or not committed and not vaccinated, not able to play in any games at all. The second they did
I think
that,
they thought they'd be a little better with Harden and KD, right?
They did, but when they set that aside and allowed for the Kyrie and Kevin to kind of control the situation there, they get into a situation where they're in now where Kyrie thinks, hey, I have been here managing the team. I should have this contract. And from Kevin's standpoint, if he looks at the Nets and they can't get a deal with Kyrie and he leaves, you have to certainly wonder for a guy who he put so much time and effort into playing with and having this relationship and wanting to be in Brooklyn with him, I'm sure he's not going to be happy if he's not playing with him anymore.
Legs, I look at, every team wants to be in the position the Nets are in. You have probably the most skillful player ever, Kyrie Irving. And then when you add height to the equation, right, the other most skillful player ever, right, the most skillful player ever at his size in Kevin Durant on the same team, and they're besties, and their games complement each other. How do they avoid a worst-case scenario here? You don't want to let these guys out the door.
You don't, and the only reason that we're even having this conversation is because of what's transpired with Kyrie Irving over the last 3 seasons. You realize he's been unavailable for more games than he has been available since he's been in Brooklyn. And on top of it, I've said this a lot this week, Kyrie Irving played, I believe, 21 or 22 games the year they won the championship in Cleveland in the postseason that year. He has played a total of 22 in the 5 years since. Wow. So this is a guy that either has not been available because of injury when he got to the postseason, or he has been in a situation where either he or the team he was on wasn't good enough to advance. So now you have Sean Marks and the Nets sitting here, and you're mulling this. If this is Kyrie Irving at his best, no one's denying the talent. Is he going to be available? Does it matter enough to him? Because he has been, out of his own mouth, he has said, this isn't everything to me. When you start giving out these kinds of max deals, you're talking about $200 million, you kind of want this to be something where they lose sleep over not winning. And it doesn't sound like Kyrie does that. And so all of these factors now make the Nets pause and wonder, is this a smart move? Obviously, they want him, but they want him with certain stipulations and conditions, not just a blank check. Here, we're going to give you every single dollar that we are capable to give you. And that's what this is all about as far as the Nets are concerned and why we're even having the conversation.
That's, I think, a really critical point here. This has nothing to do, obviously, with Kyrie's talent. The issue here is Kyrie has played in less games or been available in less games than he's played, right? Like, he has not been available for more than half the time for the Nets. That's where this all comes down to. It's not the Nets saying we don't believe he's a max-level player talent-wise.
What?
They don't want to commit to him without these stipulations. That is the root of everything that's going on here.
That may be, but if his leverage is KD, that's a lot of leverage to have, isn't it? You know, do you really want KD to potentially walk out the door when you know the two of them, if they can stay healthy and get on the court, can win a championship?
Well, here's the thing I think that needs to be said. Kevin Durant has 4 years left on his contract because he chose to extend his contract before the season started. Now, I know we're in this era where people just kind of go wherever they're around in the world, but I thought Adrian said a good thing on the draft broadcast last night. He said, this isn't a transfer portal situation, right? You can't just leave.
Wait, but Bontemps, the leverage to me, it seems to be, number one, everyone's saying KD can't win a championship without Steph. Look at Steph just did it with, can KD do it, right? Well, he seems to need Kyrie's help for that. That's the first thing. But now also consider Kyrie's won a championship with LeBron. KD hasn't done that yet. That's quite a double whammy to leave your boy in the lurch like that, right? So KD needs Kyrie there, like really needs him there.
Well, I mean, listen, again, he signed a 4-year extension. The Nets are going to have some say in how this plays out if, say, Kyrie leaves, right? Even if Kevin goes to them and says, I want to leave, every team in the league is going to want to try to trade for him because he's got 4 years left on his deal. It would be an unprecedented situation to have a guy of his talent on the market looking at a possibility of being traded. The other thing is, too, if Kyrie leaves, the Nets would be in a position where they could potentially have a ton of cap space a year from now. They could completely remake this team around Kevin Durant.
And maybe one day get a guy as good as KD and a guy as good as Kyrie on the same team.
Well, and who is actually on the court at that point, too.
We talked about LeBron, or at least I mentioned him, fresh off a very, very disappointing season. LeBron has yet to agree to an extension with the Lakers. King James is currently only signed through the end of next season, to your point about longer contracts, Bontemps. Just added to another one of the question marks surrounding the Lakers' future. Right? Legs, how concerned should the Lakers be that LeBron hasn't signed this extension yet?
I don't know that it's a serious heightened state of panic or anything like that. But, I mean, obviously you take notice of it. But I think LeBron, I thought he made it clear when he first went to Los Angeles. Like, this was going to be his final destination. We all thought that. And he's already won a championship there. They've had a lot of issues since. But I think in LeBron James' mind, if he knows you get Anthony Davis back healthy and he is healthy, they can make another run at a title in Los Angeles. I think they believe that, whether other people do or not. So I don't think LeBron James is seriously considering being somewhere else. I just think, as these guys tend to do in an era of player empowerment, and by the way, not only the greatest era of player empowerment in the NBA, I think it's the greatest era of player empowerment in any of the team sports in history, what
Easily.
NBA players have right now, and they love to exercise that power every chance they get, and that's exactly what LeBron James is doing once again.
Bontemps, you heard Legs' explanation, but is that, do you think, is there anything else that could be going on into LeBron's decision since he hasn't signed the extension yet? Is it simply you do that at the last possible minute because you keep your options open? What else could be going on here?
Well, first of all, he's not able to sign it until August, right? So that's one thing. Like, whether he wants to
That's a pretty
or
good
not.
answer.
Well, that's one thing, right? It's August 4th.
Why hasn't he signed it yet?
August
Well, he's
4th,
not
I
allowed.
believe, is the date where he can sign that extension for the first time. So that's part of it. But the other thing is, to Tim's point.
No excuse, LeBron.
You go back to 2018, right? For the first time in his career, LeBron James made a decision that was not a basketball-first decision. He clearly wanted to be in Los Angeles, wanted to live in Los Angeles, wanted to have his family be in Los Angeles. And as part of that, it was playing for the Lakers, who at that point had a bunch of young talent, but were not a team, unlike when he went to Miami in 2010, unlike he went to Cleveland in 2014, that was not a team that was championship ready in the moment. They had to go make other moves later on, right? To go get Anthony Davis, then they go on to win a championship. To Tim's point, if they're both healthy, you look at the Lakers next year, maybe they can be somewhat of a factor in the West. I still don't think they're going to be a team that is elite in the West, but what does LeBron want to do? Does he want to be in Los Angeles and have everything that comes with that, or does he want to potentially be in the best possible basketball situation? I think if it's the latter, that makes his future in LA a little more untenable.
We haven't even brought up Westbrook, because that could be if he doesn't get it together and pull a rabbit out of a hat here, what a disaster that was when they had fresh off a championship. They get Westbrook, and now no one thinks they have a shot where they could have deployed those resources